By 1983, 11-year-old Alyssa Milano had gotten a taste of show business and she wanted more. She kept busy and set her sights on becoming an actress, auditioning for plays and commercials.
So Alyssa was doing commercials and doing some off-Broadway stuff after Annie and starting to audition for potential TV series and movies, and she was still living in New York with her family.
It wasn't long before an audition came along that would dramatically alter her life and the lives of her entire family.
Just going out for auditions when she got the call to do a pilot, which was for a show called Who's the Boss?
There was this whole genre of sitcoms, and Who's the Boss was one of the most popular of this genre. It was, single woman, divorced, meets handyman, and he lives in the house with his young daughter.
The part Alyssa was trying out for was that of Samantha Maselli, the scrappy daughter of Tony Maselli, played by Tony Danza of Taxi fame.
Alyssa went to the audition and she goes there and there are all these girls trying to play this, young girl from Brooklyn.
In the 3 years that she'd been working, she'd done her best to get rid of her Brooklyn accent.
But what she had to do for this audition was she had to resurrect it, bring out the Brooklyn girl in her.
Alyssa successfully returned to her Brooklyn roots and nailed the audition. The job was hers. But though the pilot episode went off without a hitch, the Milano clan, which now included Alyssa's younger brother Corey, anxiously waited 9 months before hearing that the show had been picked up.
Once the call came that the show had been picked up, suddenly the family was what to do because they weren't a show business family. The show would be shooting in California, and they lived on the East Coast.
Her parents, being so supportive, said, hey, you know what, we'll move to LA for this TV show. But you have to remember at the time, Who's the Boss hadn't even started yet. The average life for any sitcom could be just, 4 episodes. They didn't know if Who's the Boss was going to make it. This was a big risk and also a lot of pressure for any child actor.
My mom had a store in Brooklyn, and she sold that. And my brother was 1 at the time, and my dad quit his job, and it was neat. I realized that they were doing it because they loved me, and they felt that, at least this is what I think, they felt that they had their time, and now it was my turn.
Her life changed. Her parents did not want her going to LA by herself. They did not want to split the family up. So the entire family, her mom, her dad, her brother, her grandmother, all packed up and moved into a 2-bedroom apartment in LA.
With the logistics out of the way and the Milano family settled, Alyssa could now concentrate on tackling the role of Samantha Maselli.
When Samantha started out on the show, she was kind of this tomboy. Almost, when she came out, she had a baseball hat on. She was a tough girl. She didn't have a mom. She was raised by a single father. And you could see the influence that her dad had on her. She was a tough kid that could definitely handle her own.
You could see there was this twinkle in her eye that she deep down was a girly girl and very pretty and very attractive, and so she could hang with the boys and really have fun with her girlfriend.
As Alyssa slid almost effortlessly into the role of Sam, Who's the Boss was striking a chord with Americans. The premise of the show was simple and made for classic sitcom hijinks.
So Tony Maselli and Sam Maselli are father and daughter. They move from Brooklyn to Connecticut, where Tony's taken the job to provide a better life for Sam as a housekeeper with Angela Bauer and her mother Mona and her son Jonathan. So it was like this question of who's the boss? It's not the guy because he's working for the girl, but he is still a macho guy. And a lot of times it was obviously Angela, the ad exec, who was the breadwinner.
One main reason for the show's popularity was the dynamic between Tony and Sam.
So the dynamic that Tony and Alyssa had as father and daughter was kind of a relatable one. He was a single father raising this girl, his daughter, and his wife had passed away, and he was kind of having to take on the challenges of a budding daughter as she grew up.
Samantha and Tony were wonderful together. You saw this camaraderie. They were family, but they were also friends. And I think what happened was, Tony was Alyssa's father figure on the show, but what actually happened was he became her father figure off set as well and really took care of her.
As Alyssa grew up on the set of Who's the Boss, the show began to deal with issues that face all adolescents and teens.
Alyssa Milano sort of became the unofficial spokesperson for what it was like to be a teenager in America, and her fans at home used her as an inspiration that, okay, I'm not the only one going through this.
Alyssa's character, Samantha, was really the first to go through puberty, early teen years, the first one on television. And so it humanized her. It gave other girls a sort of feeling that they were normal because she was going through this. And it set a trend, at least for that particular period of time.
It's not an average life to be a child actor. You know, the things that we experience on our own, they experience with a group of adults, or they experience in the public eye. What happened with Alyssa is, you know, things like your first kiss or getting a training bra or things like that. They not only happened off screen, they actually incorporated that into the show.
Oh.
I knew it. I knew she didn't want one of those. I knew it.
Well, no, I wanted one like Marcy's with a little pink bow in the middle.
You wanted the pink bow? Why?
Because everyone's gonna see it.
Hey, who's gonna see it?
All the embarrassing moments that, you know, a 12-year-old or 13-year-old girl experiences, Alyssa was experiencing with all these people, and the rest of America was watching.
Her character was allowed to grow and change. The plot lines dealt with things that kids that age were dealing with. You know, there was an episode where she drank. There was an episode where she got a hickey and she had to hide it from her dad. There were, you know, multiple episodes where she dealt with Tony being overbearing and overprotective, and she was struggling for independence. I think those are all really relatable themes.
When Samantha is getting her first problem, most of the girls watching this show had either already gotten it and could relate, or were just about to go through it, or were very close to going through it and were comforted by the fact that, okay, this is not so traumatic, this is not so terrible.
It became clear that Alyssa had gained a huge following amongst girls and boys alike.
You sort of love to love her. She was just sort of this fun girl that I think women could see as being a friend of theirs, or like the daughter that they would love to have, and guys looked at her as the girl they'd want to be friends with, or the girl they would love to date.
Alyssa became a heartthrob basically from this. She was on a top show. People were watching her every week. And, you know, she was pretty. She might have been getting in these little fisticuffs with people but on the show, but she had that big smile, she had those big brown eyes.
Alyssa's photo graced the covers of teen magazines everywhere, making her a star. As Who's the Boss became a staple in prime time, Alyssa Milano was on her way to becoming a household name.